There is a particular kind of quiet sadness that comes from a garden that refuses to grow. I remember a patch of ground I once inherited. It was not just empty, it felt utterly defeated. The soil was pale and hard, like baked clay. When it rained, the water would simply sit on top, forming sad little puddles that refused to sink in. When the sun came out, the surface would crack into a mosaic of dry, lifeless tiles. It was a space that had clearly given up, a place where the vibrant energy of nature had long since departed, leaving behind a compact, silent testament to neglect. It was, in every sense of the word, dead soil. My first attempts to bring it back were full of hope, but met with complete failure. I dug into the stubborn ground with a fork, turning over the heavy, dense clods. I dutifully sowed seeds, placing them into the uninviting earth with a gardener's optimism. I watered them carefully, imagining the first green shoots, pushing their way toward the sun. But nothing happened. The seeds either rotted in the waterlogged soil, or were starved of air and nutrients. It was a profound disappointment, a feeling many gardeners know all too well. You put in the work, you have the vision, but the earth itself simply refuses to cooperate with your plans. This kind of soil is a common problem, especially in new-build gardens or areas that have been compacted by machinery or constant foot traffic. The very structure of the soil is broken. It lacks the air pockets necessary for roots to breathe and for water to travel. It's a physical barrier, a dense wall that plants cannot penetrate. Trying to grow things in this kind of ground is like trying to plant a flower in a brick. You can place the seed on top, but you cannot expect it to find a home, to put down roots, and to flourish. The foundation of the garden is missing, and without it, no amount of wishing will make it grow. The silence from that patch of earth was deafening. Every morning I would look out, hoping to see a sign of life, a tiny green spear breaking the surface, but the ground remained stubbornly bare and gray. It taught me a fundamental lesson. A garden is not just about the plants you can see above the ground. It is, first and foremost, about the hidden world that exists beneath your feet. Before anything can grow up, the soil itself must be alive. My mission changed. I was no longer just trying to plant vegetables. I was trying to resurrect an entire ecosystem from the ground up. To understand why my garden was failing, I had to look deeper than the surface. Healthy soil is not just dirt. It is a bustling, thriving community, a city of microscopic life. It is absolutely teeming with billions of beneficial bacteria, fungi, and other microbes. These tiny organisms are the true gardeners. They work tirelessly, breaking down organic matter into simple nutrients that plants can absorb through their roots. A dead, compacted soil has lost this essential workforce. It is a silent, empty city, devoid of the life that fuels the entire system. Without these microbes, nutrients remain locked up and unavailable to plants. This microscopic world needs food, air, and water to survive, just like any other living thing. When soil becomes compacted, the air pockets disappear. The microbes suffocate and die off. When there is no organic material, like old leaves, dead roots, or compost, they have nothing to eat. This is why my pale, hard soil was so unresponsive. It was sterile. It lacked the living component that makes soil a dynamic, life-giving medium. The first step in reviving any garden is not to feed the plants, but to feed the soil itself. We must restart that engine of life. Of course, we cannot talk about healthy soil without mentioning the true heroes of the underground, the earthworms. They are the master plows and cultivators of the garden. As they burrow through the ground, as they create intricate networks of tunnels. These channels allow air and water to penetrate deep into the soil, reaching plant roots where they are needed most. A lack of earthworms is a sure sign of poor soil health. They simply will not live where there is no food or oxygen. My barren patch of ground was completely devoid of them, a silent indictment of its condition. So, the problem was clear. My soil was not just physically compacted, it was biologically dead. It was missing the microbes that process nutrients, the organic matter that feeds them, and the earthworms that create the structure for it all to happen. It was a vicious cycle. The poor structure led to a lack of life, and the lack of life prevented the structure from ever improving. To break this cycle, I couldn't just add fertilizer. I needed to reintroduce life itself back into the ground and give it a reason to stay and thrive. The solution had to be a biological one. The answer to this problem was not found in a bag of chemical fertilizers, but in a simple, natural mixture, a sort of probiotic drink for the earth. The recipe is wonderfully straightforward and uses ingredients that work in perfect harmony to kickstart the soil's ecosystem. The first and most important ingredient is good, well-rotted compost. This is not just a source of nutrients, it is a living inoculant. A single handful of rich, dark compost contains billions of beneficial microbes. By adding this to our mix, we are directly reintroducing the workforce that our dead soil is missing. It is the new population for our empty city. The second ingredient is something sweet: molasses. Blackstrap molasses, to be precise. This might seem like an odd addition to a garden recipe, but its purpose is vital. The microbes we are adding from the compost need food to get them going. Molasses is a simple sugar, a quick source of energy, that acts as a powerful stimulant for bacteria and fungi. It wakes them up and encourages them to multiply rapidly. Think of it as a welcome meal for the new inhabitants of your soil, giving them the fuel they need to start their important work of breaking down organic matter and revitalizing the ground. The third ingredient brings a gift from the sea liquid seaweed. Seaweed is a fantastic addition to any garden, as it contains a huge range of trace minerals and micronutrients that are often absent in tired soils. These minerals are like vitamins for the soil and the plants. More importantly, seaweed contains natural growth hormones that stimulate root development and help plants become more resilient to stress. It completes the recipe by providing not just the life and the food, but also the essential elements for long-term health and vigor. It helps build a stronger foundation for everything that will grow. To make the brew, the process is simple. I take a large watering can and fill it with lukewarm water. The warmth is important, as it helps dissolve the molasses and makes the microbes more active. Then, I add a generous dollop of molasses, about 2 tablespoons per can, and stir until it is completely dissolved. Into this sweet, warm water, I add a few large handfuls of my best compost and a good splash of liquid seaweed feed. I give it all a thorough stir, creating a dark, rich, and wonderfully earthy-smelling tea. This simple concoction is the elixir of life for a struggling garden. With my watering can full of this life-giving brew, I walked back to the sad, compacted patch of earth. The application itself is the easiest part of the whole process. I simply watered the ground with the mixture. I made sure to give the entire area a thorough and even drenching, letting the dark liquid soak into the cracks and crevices of the dry soil. There was no digging or heavy work involved. I was simply pouring the solution on top, trusting that the ingredients would begin their work. Honestly, it felt less like gardening and more like performing a rite of revival, offering a drink to a parched and thirsty land. The first changes were subtle, but incredibly fast. Within the first day, the soil's appearance had shifted. The pale, gray color began to darken to a richer brown as the organic matter and moisture were absorbed. The ground seemed to soften slightly, losing some of its hard, baked quality. It was as if the soil had let out a long, slow breath. The sweet, earthy smell of the molasses and compost lingered in the air, replacing the dusty scent of lifeless dirt. It was a sign that the biological processes had been ignited. The city was no longer empty. Its new residents were beginning to wake up and get to work. The most dramatic and wonderful change, however, occurred on the third day. As I went to inspect the patch, I pushed a garden fork gently into the soil. To my astonishment, it slid in with surprising ease. But what I saw when I turned over that first forkful of earth made my heart leap. There, wriggling in the newly softened soil, were earthworms. Not just one or two, but several. They had arrived. Where they came from is one of nature's quiet mysteries. Perhaps they were dormant deep below, or perhaps they migrated from healthier parts of the garden, but they were here now, drawn by the feast I had provided. The arrival of the worms was the true turning point. These creatures are the architects of good soil. As they moved through the ground, they began tunneling, creating channels for air and water. They consumed the organic matter from the compost, dragging it deeper into the soil profile. Their castings, or waste, are one of the most potent and perfectly balanced natural fertilizers in the world. They were aerating, cultivating, and fertilizing the soil all at once. The garden was no longer silent. It was alive with the quiet, tireless work of its new and most valuable inhabitants. The recovery had truly begun. Seeing those first earthworms was a moment of pure gardening joy, but it was only the beginning of the journey. Reviving soil is not a one-time event, it is a process of continuous care and nurturing. To build on that initial success, I repeated the application of the soil drench about a week later. This second dose served to reinforce the microbial population and provide another boost of energy, ensuring that the new ecosystem could become firmly established. This is a practice I would recommend to anyone trying this method. A follow-up treatment helps solidify the gains you have made and speeds up the recovery process significantly. The next crucial step was to protect this newly awakened soil. Bare soil is vulnerable soil. The sun can bake it and the wind can blow it away. The key to protecting it is to cover it with a layer of mulch. I applied a thick blanket of organic matter in my case, another generous layer of garden compost and some shredded leaves right on top of the soil. This mulch acts like a protective skin. It helps to retain the moisture I had added, preventing the ground from drying out and cracking again. It also keeps the soil cooler in summer and warmer in winter, creating a stable environment for the worms and microbes. Over time, this layer of mulch provides a slow and steady food source for the underground community. The earthworms will gradually pull the organic matter down into the soil, continuing their work of improving its structure and fertility. As the mulch breaks down, it constantly replenishes the soil's nutrients, creating a self-sustaining cycle of health. This is the secret to a low-maintenance, thriving garden. By feeding the soil life, you create a system where the soil takes care of itself, and in turn, takes care of your plants. It is a beautiful and efficient partnership. This simple method offers hope to any gardener who has ever felt discouraged by poor, lifeless soil. You do not need expensive products or complicated techniques. All you need is to understand that soil is a living thing. By providing it with life, food, and protection, you can transform even the most compacted, barren ground into a dark, crumbly, and wonderfully fertile home for your plants. This is how you build a garden that is not just productive for one season, but one that grows healthier, richer, and more resilient with each passing year. It is a true and lasting revival.